So, Simon, I've spoken to your creative director, Callum Church, about your viral media strategies. I've spoken to your co-founder at Helpbank, Adam Smith, and I've even spoken to Robin Waite, who's done a lot of coaching for your community. But today I want to talk to you about the vision and the person behind the whole movement of dreamers. So if it's okay with you, I want to go back to the start of your story. You were homeless at 15 after losing your father. And I'm interested in what was the single moment you decided to start a business rather than wait for things to improve?
Wasn't really that I saw myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I I just basically tried all other options. I tried to get a job. That's what they teach you at school, right? Get a job. You'll get a job. That's what this is all for. You'll get a great job. Get an A and you'll get a great job. And I couldn't get a job. Just like 700,000 uni students that presently have come out of university right now in the UK can't get a job. They've been promised a job. They get into debt. They spend 4 years. They'll get a really well-paying job. But there wasn't any jobs when I needed it. So I couldn't get a job. And then I went to social services, begging for help, hoping that the social system would give me somewhere to live and that I'd be all right. They didn't help me. They couldn't help me. They had 6 single mothers ahead of me, quite right. A woman with a baby, more important than a 15-year-old man needing help. So they couldn't help me. And honestly, it's just sheer desperation that I woke up to the concept of entrepreneurship. And I then muddled through, learning it all the hard way, the no help way, the way that most people fail when they do it because they don't know how to ask for help or where help is. Started a gardening company. It was a nightmare, but somehow made it work through luck, through timing, through just sheer no choice. I had no other option. I didn't want to be successful. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I needed it. And that was the difference. So that's the early days and that's the early story.
So you really do see entrepreneurship as sort of a way of survival rather than choice. And I'm interested to hear from you. When you talk to people who say they're not ready to start, how does that go down with you? Because you obviously started from a place where you didn't have that choice of I'm not ready yet. You just had to go for it. So how do you deal with trying to help people through this emotional stage of I want to start a business, but I don't think I can, where that wasn't the same for you? It was a very different starting point.
Well, I never want to push anyone into anything they don't feel comfortable doing, right? I mean, that's not my job. I'm not there to push people in the wrong direction. I think it's getting people to listen to themselves. So, I think a lot of the time, like when I think about right now, today, and this might date badly, so this might not be good for your podcast, but like right now, there are 700,000 uni students in debt to the tune of 50, 60,000 pounds. And they are applying one person for every 500 jobs and they're getting no replies. There's 700,000 young people looking for work. And I think, okay, so you can sit there moaning, right? Can't afford a house. Tragic. Can't afford a house. Rent's ridiculous. Food costs are expensive. Electricity is expensive. Basic human needs, super expensive. Can't find a job, in serious debt. 9% interest on your student loan. Totally screwed, right? And being screwed over by the government, by the Times, by technology. It's a nightmare. Or you can say, God, I'm lucky. There's no job. And, oh my God, I've got a mobile phone in my hand. I can do a video right now and put it up and get 20 million views, even if I've got no following. And that 20 million views can lead people to my service business or my product idea or my pre-order product idea. Like, oh my God, I've got AI. AI can like bring me a whole team. I can use, oh my God, this is amazing. And you can see what this generation's opportunity is and be lucky that you're not trapped in a job for 20 years you hate based on what you told someone at 8 years old you wanted to do. And then they went on that treadmill through university to do it. You're free, but people don't see it.
No, I completely agree. And that treadmill, that conveyor belt is so almost toxic, isn't it? I remember my parents are in the police, and they pushed me to university, then pushed me to do a master's, and it was only when I was 27 and was faced with a car crash that I decided to actually change my life and start a business. So, in some ways, I'm thankful for that happening because some people wait until they're 60, 70, 80 before they realize I probably should have done something a bit different. So what is your best bit of advice to these 700,000 people right now? They can hear that they've got their phone in their pocket and there's opportunities out there, but perhaps they don't have the confidence to know what the market wants or what their skill set might be. What can they do today to start?
Wants.
Okay.
Don't worry about what the market wants. Think about what you're good at. This is the first thing. I've read a whole book on this, so you watch a podcast, don't need to buy my book anymore. But like, you literally, just write a list of what you're good at, what you don't feel like is work. And I had someone the other day, oh, that's silly. Oh, I like to watch Netflix. I'm like, great, you like to watch Netflix. So what's the problem when you're watching Netflix? Oh, there's so much choice, I don't know what to watch. Exactly. So what could you do? A review site on what your demographic and your interest group would like to watch. Like, there's an opportunity in everything. You like walking your dog, great, start a dog walking business. And I think people need to stop looking at market gaps and watching Dragon's Den and like how to make money, and start thinking about, I love doing this, how can I make money out of doing this so I can just do this, right? And that's the opportunity that you have if you have access to the internet and a mobile phone and like millions of people online instantly for free.
Do you think that's another part of it as well, that we've gone so far into what business is that we're always looking for innovation, whereas actually you don't need to innovate, you just need to solve whatever it is that needs to be done, and sometimes it is just walking dogs or, like you say, Netflix catalogs and stuff.
Yeah, I think business is, to me, I'm sick of the word entrepreneurship. It's not a French word that fits what I'm talking about anymore. I think people keep saying to me, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Yes, they fucking can. And to be honest, the way it's going, you're going to have no choice. It's not even an option. If you're sitting there right now, one of those 700,000 talented young people waiting for someone to give you an opportunity, then you are actually an idiot. Take advantage of what's in front of you. Go start something of your own. Team up with your mate or one of the other 700,000 students and create something and base it on something you like to do around your skills. And so, like, I never started this movement that I have built with this idea of, I'm going to make lots of money. I'm making so much money, but I never started out thinking about money. I'd already made all the money I needed. I'd sold my company. I never need to work again. As long as I don't live past 102, I never need to work again. Right? So, like, I didn't set out looking to make money. And it was a revelation to me, by the way, because I had always started businesses with a business model in mind, right? So this is a bit of like reverse thinking once I have money, which actually is really useful when you don't have money, which is the reason I've become so big online and I've got so good at this is because I love it. I love educating people. I think if I could go back in time, I would have been a teacher, perhaps. Like, I love giving people the knowledge that they didn't get at school. That knowledge that 15-year-old me didn't get. I just get a buzz from it. And I would do it all day long. I was doing it for years for no money. It's only when I realized that perhaps I was being a bit stupid not monetizing it, because I could use that money to give to people to fund their dreams. I'm like, actually, I need to turn the monetization on. Now, you don't have to follow me on that side of it, because, of course, I'm privileged. I've got the money to do that. But what I'm getting to is, like, if you can just do something, whatever it is, let's say you like cutting grass. If that is your job every day and you enjoy it, trust me, you'll end up making money out of it. You can put a GoPro on the lawnmower and people will watch it. You can get sponsored for the lawnmower and skip while you do it and create, a circus act. And like, there's so many things you can do around the thing that you love. And so, like, it doesn't matter how boring it sounds to someone else. It just, is an opportunity for you because you are good at it, because you like doing it. It doesn't require the word work to enter the mindset. It's not work, it's what you do.
So you're literally getting paid for what you love. I mean, the guy in Australia, I think he's called Tim, literally started filming himself mowing grass, didn't he? And he's now probably the richest gardener in the world just from showing free mow Fridays, I think was an example. Simon, you mentioned there that when you sold your business, you've said this in your own words, that you made more money than you'd ever need for the rest of your life. What does success look like to you now? What would happen, or what would have to happen, or what is already happening for you to go, I am successful?
Well, for me, success is defined as like owning your own time. So
Brilliant.
I can come on this podcast if I want. I could cancel it if I want. I can go now this afternoon. I've got a load of calls after this podcast. I could just go for a walk and cancel my calls. I'm in control of my time. And to me, that is the most valuable thing. If my son I'm a couple of weeks ago, my son has serious food allergies and we had an allergy problem. So I had to take him to the hospital. I didn't have to fill out a holiday form or ask anybody. I just said, I'm going. Priority is that. There you go. And when I was at the allergy clinic getting treatment for my son, there was a lady there who had to get 3 months approval before she could be there with her child. And she was a quite a senior lawyer, and made all the money in the world. But in that moment, she realized she was poor because she wasn't allowed to own her own time. And so to me, that's why I say dog walker who enjoys it, or cyclist that puts a GoPro on their head and goes around, catching people on their phones. He's cycling and having fun, cycling Mickey, whatever his name is. The point is, I'm like,
him.
The point I'm making is like, that's success, right? By the way, I'm live on TikTok and someone just gave me a big gifty.
Bro.
Was for any of your listeners wondering what that was. So I think, just people don't double down on what they're good at. They get told at school. And this is the problem with school. There's lots of problems with the school system, but one of the major ones is that we get told what we're not good at, right? We get, your biology, you're getting a D. So you need to do more biology. Now, there's a reason you're getting a D at it. You either don't like the teacher or you don't like the subject. And so why double down on something that is painful for you? That makes learning unpleasant and it makes you not want to learn, support a football team and give up on your life. So I think it's like... people are so conditioned to look at what they're bad at through the school system that they are forgetting what makes them unique, whatever that is. And for me, it turns out I am a unique communicator. But I didn't know that because at my school, there was no drama class. There was no drama at all. It was maths, physics, biology, and I wasn't particularly good at any of them. So because I was dyslexic, English was really bad. I was literally put in like a dummy class because the skill I have to communicate was not valued in the school that I was in. And so I literally thought I was never going to make it. And I played rugby, so I was quite good at rugby. So I was thinking maybe because I'm quite good at rugby, I could be a rugby player. But I had no idea that I had the ability to communicate. No idea about that skill.
Well, because it feels like school these days, it's sort of, the tree is corporate, right? The tree is what they're trying to help you climb, but you've got all different kinds of animals at the bottom of the tree, like fish and whatever, that can never climb that tree because they have such different skill sets. And I think you're completely right on the whole, if you're really good at maths and really bad at English, why wouldn't you double down on learning more maths? Getting a tutor on maths makes so much more sense than doing what everyone else does. I want to give people an insight into you and what you would do. So if I take you back to if you were 16 today, what is it that you like that you think you could turn into a hobby business that you've just been talking about? Is there something that stands out to you as an obvious thing that you like? Obviously, you've mentioned communication, but is there anything else that you could give us that is something that you would do as a business?
Me personally, 16 today.
Yes, yeah.
I still love, I think, just marketing, reach. Like AI now has the ability to be like Einstein for you. So I've spent 35 years perfecting my sales and marketing craft. But AI, there's this AI Simon, by the way, so you can literally, you could get AI Simon to work for you and deploy his strategies and his 35-year sales and business experience. I mean, I've sold something to every Fortune 500 company at least once, right? Wow. I've done a sales video on YouTube, one of the most popular sales videos in the world, and I know sales in and out. Because at 15 years old, I was knocking on doors, begging people to let me take care of their garden, right? So I've been trying to convince people my whole life. And sales, by the way, without going off at a track, is an art form in itself. And the best salespeople build very, very deep, long-term relationships. I'm not talking about Andrew Tate trick people sales. I'm talking about genuine relationship, deep value sales, right? And so I have learned that. Now you can use my AI and use it for free and deploy that for your life and business. I think that's a remarkable opportunity. Again, if I was 16, I could do what I did, which is spend 35 years learning it, or I can learn to deploy the AI technology and do it for me and speed everything up.
No, it's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely insane how much you can do. In terms of what you're mentioning there, how important is trust at the moment in terms of, everyone's been burned by someone. It feels like short form video is another one where people are getting slightly tired of it and they're looking for longer form stuff because people just want that deeper relationship like you're talking about, and you're relating it to sales. How are you seeing that on the projects you're working on in your own content, trying to build trust rather than just garner attention?
Yeah, you're mixing up two things there. I'm not sure you're right about short form losing its appeal. I think that might be a personal experience that you're having.
Sure.
I don't think it's true on the data side. I mean, there's a plateau generally with social media where people are craving more in real world interactions, but that's not short form problem. That's a social media problem.
Okay.
I think what is true, however, is that I've now crossed the whole gambit of relationship with an individual. So, I started on TikTok, and then 60 seconds people interact, and then I started going live. So that's like connecting to people in real time in the real world, right? So that's another level of connection. And then I went to YouTube and I did long form. I now have the most popular business video in the world, 16 million views, right? So that long form content, it's no longer this guy on TikTok offering people money to start a business. This guy knows business. 2 hours and 26 minutes covers everything an MBA takes 4 years to cover for free on YouTube. Now, that creates a deep understanding of who you are with the audience. Then I launch a book that goes to #1 on the Sunday Times bestseller, sell hundreds of thousands of books. People are now taking me on holiday and spending a whole weekend with me, sometime a week, reading the book, right? Reading everything I know. And that's another level of connection and awareness. And then the final thing is, I just did an event at the London Palladium, and I think the capacity of the London Palladium was 2,500. We actually sold it out. We didn't have any more tickets. People were texting me on the night. This is where, the Beatles and Madonna play, right? So we sold out. When I went to the actual event, only half the people turned up, which is a different issue due to weather and all the rest of it. But the point is, and I had people queued up for a ticket to go, but we said we can't because they're seated. We can't give you a seat because people have reserved it. But then some people didn't turn up. I think it's worth sharing that because sometimes you're like, oh, it was full up and it was sold out. But when you go there, it wasn't full up. The point I'm making, though, is that night, that connection with the audience that night, I cried. And I felt the connection back where, you've sold out the London Palladium and people are all there cheering you on. Okay, 1,300 people is still a huge amount of human point of view. And it's kind of like, oh my God, this is incredible. We're getting 500 million views a month. People are connecting to the content. More importantly, they're helping the dreamers in the videos and then helping themselves after they've watched the videos. And then on top of that, in the real world, all the way through, there's different touch points, right? So to your point, I think people are craving a deep relationship, but it is like any relationship. It takes time. When you go on a date with someone first time, you go for coffee, you don't even have lunch with them, right? Because you don't want to have a long relationship until you've bought into their narrative. So I think it does take time, and short form allows people to buy into the short form is the quick coffee date. YouTube is the go for dinner, and the book is stay overnight.
I like it. It's such a good way of looking at it. And having spoken to some of your team, I understand just how deep you guys know the data and the strategies. If I may, another time, you mentioned there that you were emotional at the Palladium. Another time that you were emotional, I'm presuming because of you realizing the reach you've had, was at the 1 billion followers summit in Dubai when you won the 1 billion award. How did that feel to have that much reach in the Middle East? You went over there and you've just realized how far and how big this thing had got.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of getting over that. To be honest. The award's right here. So I got invited to, for those your audience might not know, I got invited to an event called the 1 Billion Follower Summit, and they invited me to go there and be a speaker. So this is an event designed to bring all the top creators together. So the Mr. Beast of this world, all the people that are making stuff happen were invited over to talk about their experiences and what they know, and then there was a competition for the most influential influencer doing good with their influence, and I was nominated for it. And which is nice in itself, right? It's like nominated for an Oscar. Oh, that's nice. Being recognised for your efforts. That's enough sometimes. And then when I went there, I did my talk, and I wasn't expecting to win. And then Elon Musk's mum was on stage talking. She comes off, and then they announce, right, we're now going to announce the 1 billion summit winner of the 1 million US dollars. And the winner is Simon Squibb. And honestly, in that moment, the energy in the room, the years of work, I just felt supported. Like I have spent quite a lot of my life with no father. And so there's sometimes when you suddenly feel like there's something there supporting you, it just hit me. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. The money is amazing. Who doesn't want $1 million cash? Who doesn't want that? Don't get me wrong. The money is amazing, and we put it to good use. We've given £426,000 away so far.
Wow.
So we put the money to good use. But I think that it's that moment where the world voted. I think it was 7 million votes voted for what we were doing. And it just felt like support, after all the years of people hating me online and saying it's a scam and I didn't really care about people and it was just about me getting views, or what all the nasty comments that you get. And bang, in that moment, the whole room, 1,400 people on that day in the room, the online outpouring of love, it was just like, oh my God, people are seeing it. They're seeing why we're actually doing this. And people are giving us $1 million, and like, we're behind you, and like, a room full of some of the people I respect the most in the world, who are creating things and doing things that are changing the world, all like standing up and cheering for you. Yeah, I blubbered for the next 5 minutes, which was a bit embarrassing when the royal family are giving you a gift. But yeah.
Well, I imagine it's like seeing your wife come down the aisle for the first time. Sometimes you're just going to ugly cry. Sometimes you have to ugly cry. That's what happens.
I didn't cry that day. But
Fair enough.
this made me cry, but yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
what do you mean?
I saw recently the podcast studio that we usually use in Dubai has got its own version of I think it's actually your doorbell. It's got its doorbell in Dubai, and the doorbell I'm referring to is the one that I think probably, from my perspective at least, garnered you a lot of attention over the last few years when you put the doorbell on the staircase in London. Where did that idea come from, and how did you execute that so effectively?
Well, so the best marketing sometimes is just having fun. I think a lot of people, like, I've built some incredible marketing strategies in my life, but the best ones have always been impulsive, crazy ones. I can remember, for example, when I was living in Hong Kong and we got wind that Batman was being filmed, a scene of Batman was being filmed on a certain staircase in Hong Kong. So literally me and the team that night went and bought stormtrooper outfits. And then the following day on film set, we gate crashed the filming of Batman in stormtrooper outfits and tried to get to Batman. All the press were there, and it was on the front page of the paper. Stormtroopers tried to take out Batman. And so the whole thing was to promote what we were doing at the time, a whole comic book event. But the point I'm getting to is, like, the best marketing is just that, like instant execution. And the doorbell of dreams and the staircase of dreams was all just a bit of fun. I don't like the property market. I think it's become a very difficult place for normal people to get a home, to rent a home, to have somewhere safe to sleep. A basic human need has become this business. And so, I don't invest in property and I don't rent out property. And I'm a big advocate for, we've got to be careful with this whole thing. And so a staircase came up for sale at auction, and it was all pitched as like, there's a staircase for sale in Twickenham and you can turn it into a flat and make money. And I thought something was just like pulling me towards the product. I did actually sleep in a stairwell when I was homeless. So of course that little twitch there. And then I was like, what is going on in the property market now? There's a staircase for sale that's being sold as a flat. And I thought to myself, maybe that staircase could be somewhere the homeless could sleep. Maybe that staircase, we could use it as, my office in London. Anyway, we went to the auction the next day and we bought it. And then we went to it for the first time, because when you buy stuff at auction, you don't get to view it. You just buy it as sold as seen. And then we went there and we realized that this was an opportunity to create a community hub for anyone that's got a dream. And we thought, it's actually Dudley on my team, one of the few people you haven't interviewed yet. He was his idea, and I said, why don't we put a letterbox so people could post their dreams to us? And then he said, why don't we do better than that and do a doorbell on there, and then people can go there and pitch their dreams, and we can capture it and try to help them. And so that's it. That's what we did. And it's been, even today, I was just looking this morning, there was 11 people this morning that pitched 3 years later.
Wow.
It's still, because, you think about it, if you've got a dream and you want some help with it, where can you go?
Yeah, no one cares.
Job centers aren't going to help you, are they? I guess you can go on Dragon's Den, but they have very strict criteria. You need to have a product. You need to be mid-flow. You need to be able to wait 6 months before you go on the show, and then you need to wait 9 months until it's broadcast. And you might not even get on because it might still be cut, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is still we are still the only one where there's this live place you can go and pitch your dream and get some help. And so, I thought everyone's going to copy us quite quickly, but no one has.
No, and also some of the names you've had involved in the pitching, like Sir Richard Branson, Dan Priestley, Chris Doe, some amazing people that have wanted to be involved in this project. Is there any, or are there any pitches that still stand out to you that have come through the doorbell that were just amazing? And if there are, why?
I mean, there's been so many over the years. The Macca twins, kids who wanted to clean.
They're brilliant.
And they cleared the staircase, and I gave them a lot of help in the early days with their strategy and supported them. But that one stands out. I mean, honestly, it's if I start listing them, I feel like I'm going to be missing someone out, and they'll be like, "Why didn't you mention us?" There's just been, Natasha, the vegan patty lady, who's now got her food in Ocado.
Wow.
There's just, honestly, I could just go on and on. There's just so many stories of people. And the thing is, what's been really kind of cool, and it's the same online, is that people go there to pitch. It's the people they meet in the queue when they're pitching that actually end up people that help them, right? And it's that community side, same as online. Like, it's the people online that help even more than my team. I mean, I've got 45 full-time people doing this.
Wow.
When people's dreams happen. But even with all of the size of the team that we've got, we still can't help everybody, right? I get probably about 1,000 DMs a day across my channels. We can't get back to everybody personally.
No.
And so, a lot of the time it's the community that's picking up the slack and jumping in and helping where they can. And that community side, I love humanity. I know news makes us think humanity's in a lot of trouble. And of course, there's some problems out there. But the humanity I see, the side of humanity that I see, humans are good and they want to help. You just got to make it easy for people to help. That's what we try to do with Help Bank. Try to make it easy for people to help.
And normally someone wants to monetize their help, right? Which is what makes Help Bank so different. It's been a long time since I spoke to Adam Smith about the numbers behind Help Bank, but I remember being incredibly shocked by the amount of people who have signed up and monthly help people for free. Were you surprised by humanity itself and how many people actually just wanted to help?
I think humanity is amazing, and I think it's not said enough. I know it doesn't sell newspapers or get clicks online, and I know people love a bit of hate. And that's sad. I guess it's just the reality of like clickbait stuff.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when people are trying to get attention and they use me in a negative light to try and get attention, I guess it's just human nature. But I think positive news does win in the long run. And yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because when we launched Help Bank, we had this kind of concept of like a marketplace, right? One side is people that need help, and the other side is people that can help. And we did think that we were going to have a problem with people that wanted to help for free. We thought we were going to have to spend a lot of time educating people on the benefit of helping people for free, why that's a good thing. And when we launched, the shocking thing, people had a choice. I'm here for help, I'm here to help. 4 times more people there to help than help.
Crazy.
And it turns out the psychology of it as well is a lot of people prefer to help than ask for help. So it's like asking for help's really hard for humans. You think about it from a tribal point of view, you wake up, it's a busy life. You don't want to bother anyone. You don't want to trouble anyone. You want to be contributing to your tribe, right? So it's naturally in us. And I think Help Bank has proved that. We've stayed away from dopamine on the site. So stickiness on the technology is always a bit of an issue because we don't want to make people addicted. But we have, I think, broken through in the last year where people are there to contribute to making humanity better and helping humanity, as opposed to getting a dopamine hit of how many likes they get. Yeah. So it's a long road on the don't need dopamine to be happy. You need to help someone to be happy. But actually, when people do it, it's in them naturally to want to do it. It's the people are good. They want to help.
Well, I've seen one of your videos a while ago about how much better you feel on Christmas Day when you give a present than receiving one. It does feel better to give. And your movement has got the sort of hashtag give without take. And I'm just interested in, how has that education piece worked where you've had to teach people if you just give without any expectation of taking, you will learn more than just going there trying to grab information, trying to, not necessarily do it on the slide, but some people will want to, if I give something, I'll get something back. How has that education piece worked for you inside the platform?
The thing is, I'm just helping people go back to their natural factory settings. So it's not a re-education, it's a reminder. The problem is cost of living, basic human needs like food, electricity, transport, house is so expensive that it's not easy for people to stay in the what I call non-fight or flight mode, right? It's like it's in our nature to support our communities and help each other. But when you cannot keep your own electricity on and you're going to freeze tonight potentially, it's very hard to not be self-focused. And so that's the problem. I think people are forced into fight or flight, so they cannot support community. And I think that allows people to be told what to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. You've mentioned a lot today about the number of people that have come out of university and education looking for jobs, and also just the cost of living and the issues that we're facing, not only in the UK, but around the world. And I'm interested in, I know that you've in the past homeschooled your son, and you think that the schools are built for employees, not entrepreneurs. What would the Simon Squibb syllabus look like if you could redo the secondary school syllabus?
You've got 9 hours for me to go through it, because I'm telling you now, it's a complicated thing. But on the basic level, I think it's actually, okay, your listeners should ask themselves,
Yeah.
what is the education system designed to actually do? Right? What is it designed to actually do? Because I think the school system would take credit for my 2-year-old walking if they could. Right? Oh, we taught your son to walk. No, you didn't. When it was the time for him to walk, he walked. I didn't need to give him lectures about trying and failing, and I didn't have to tell him to do it today because, come on, you're 2 now. Or tell him that he's a few steps behind the other kid. The other kid can run a little faster. Come on, the other kid's getting an A and you're getting a D on your walking ability. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, the school system is flawed, majorly flawed. And so the first thing I would do, by the way, is fix the intent of the school system. So to me, the school system is designed to train you to be working under, like, turn up at 9, finish at 5, all wear the same clothes. When the bell goes off, go for lunch. What does that sound like? Doesn't that sound like prison? And doesn't that sound like a factory? Right? So it's the training system for that model. Now, I don't think it's dark and evil. I think it's just Henry Ford said, let's give people an education so they can go on a holiday, buy a car, but we want them to turn back up at the factory on Monday. We need them, right? So let's educate, but not so much so that they don't come to the factory on Monday. If they understood how money worked, they won't come to the factory on Monday. No. So let's not teach money, right? Why is money not taught in schools? Because we all know how important money is. But compound and how it works is not taught in schools. All we're taught is how to sell hours, right? Which we all know is not scalable. How much is your hourly rate? What will you get an hour? Teachers are talking about, well, they're paid an hour. The teachers are not even able to teach anything other than the hourly rate because that's what they earn, right? They're part of the same system. They're trapped too. So I think my education system would start with changing the question we ask kids, right? When you're very young, schools and parents by default ask this question, and it's the wrong question. They will ask, what will you do when you grow up? Now, what this does is it traps you into a job mindset. And especially when you're like 7 or 8 and you're like, oh, what can I say to make the adult happy? Oh, I'll be a lawyer. I'll be a doctor. What's going to make the adult proud, happy, smile, my tribe happy? And so kids, my 8-year-old, he was asked the other day, what do you want to do when you grow up? I told the person to fuck off. Because I don't want my kid trapped. Right? And I think if he says a lawyer, 10 years from now, there won't be lawyers. So what's the point of asking them that? The question we should ask, and this will be the fundamental change in the education system, is what problem do you want to solve? Now, this is light-hearted, open-minded, debate-based thinking, right? What problems matter to you? What problems are there out in the world? And then what do you love to do? What brings you joy? And can you apply it to solving that problem, right? I want to fix the education system. So that's my mission. And so I can apply my skills of marketing and my business savvy to this idea. And I think I've been doing this 6 years. I will not stop until it's done. So I think that, thinking that way is so much healthier. So, I asked my son what problem he'd like to solve. He said he's still thinking about it.
Brilliant answer.
At least I'm not trapping his mind into like, you're going to be a lawyer, which is great, because then you're going to go to a good school so I can tell all my friends, oh, my son's at this university. And then when you're a lawyer, I can say he's a lawyer. It's not about him. Right? And so parents need to stop asking that question. Teachers need to stop asking that question. The school system stops trying to imply it by putting you on a treadmill that leads you to £60,000 worth of debt and sitting at home wondering why you can't get a job.
I think it's a really good point. The point you just touched on there, I think, is brilliant, which is that it does feel like it's a system that is built so that the parents can almost brag about how the kids are doing, and then they sort of get spat out at the end of school or university, and then it's about, okay, what are you actually going to do now? And there's less to go on. There's less depth to it, and it's all about just competing. I don't know if you've seen. I'm sure someone in your team has seen the backlash that Matt does fitness, one of the biggest fitness YouTubers in the world, has had this week on the whole schooling system. He's down in Folkestone, and he did a video just talking about how he used to be a teacher. He spoke about how he would love the schooling system to take accountability for his two sons' health as much as they do the writing and reading. And the backlash he got was massive and very, very negative. And actually, I think it talks to your point, though, that he has a very good point, which is that if they can read and write, that's great, but they also need to be able to think laterally and dynamically and be fit, learn about their health, because it actually goes down the same route you're talking about there. If we don't teach them about money or health, doesn't that trap them in the system forever? And so, I think I think his points were very valid, but obviously the majority of people who have kids his age just absolutely hated it because it was saying that kids shouldn't eat what they want.
They trapped him in that communication because I think from recollection, I think it was basically, would you rather do? The kid can read and write, or they're fit and healthy, and he picked fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot of people that don't get that. I mean, I'm dyslexic, so technically I can't read and write very well. And I've been fine because I've got voice communication, right? So, and I'd rather double down on what I'm good at than be penalised. And I think, there are kids that I think a bit of health and fitness would be brilliant. Why are we not teaching nutrition in schools? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to talk to you a little bit about the help bank side of things, your media profile, everything that's going on there, because we've spoken a bit about the reason and the vision. But you've now built a following of over 18 million people, which is incredible, by giving away advice for free on the street. And you did mention that it wasn't the plan to build that following, but I'm interested in the format. I want to know how that format started. You obviously leaning into your communication style, how you're good with people, but how did that start? How did you realize that was something that you could do for social media?
Yeah, so what we didn't do is sit down and have a big strategy.
Okay.
And then a big written up whiteboard, and then, execution and cue points, and none of that. We went into the street and we did it. And I think that sometimes people think these things that work are like these well-organized, well-planned out things. I don't think so. So the way I built all my businesses, I built 19 companies.
Yeah.
I've invested in 81 startups. And what I've seen in that time is that the businesses that plan, have meetings, talk about it, plan a bit more, and then they execute, often they've lost all the energy in all that work. And so the way I tend to do things, and it has worked for me quite well, is I have a general gist of what I think the client I'm serving needs, but then I go check with them. So every business I've ever had, I don't assume a client wants this. I go ask them. So in reality, my street interview stuff was really me asking my audience, what is it that you need? What's stopping you following your dream? So in a way, it wasn't out there to make viral content. I was out there to understand what my audience needs, so I could go back home and make a video to give it to them. Like, what's stopping you? I've given you how to raise money. I've given you how to build a brand. I've given you how to sell. Why aren't you doing it? And so it really started from that point of view. It's more, and this is why I see a lot of people, of course, they're copying what we do now, but we've already moved on to the next thing, because I'm all I'm ever thinking about is like how to bring value to my audience, to the people I'm serving, right? Those dreamers that don't know how to do it, or those dreamers that are trying to do it and it's not working yet. And so, I don't think about it in the context of I've got a content format and that's what I do now. I'm thinking like, what else do we need to do now to help my clients? And that means that it might not be content format. It might be database management,
Yeah.
and so on.
I love that. When we spoke to Callum, one of the things he said is that if you're looking at a strategy, you're probably already wrong. You just got to look for the purple cow. You got to look for something a bit different and then bring your vision to life. I think that's such a good bit of advice, especially from someone who has been successful and now has another massive successful team. If you just keep planning, it doesn't necessarily work. It's interesting to hear that from your point of view. I want to touch on the whole personal brand thing, because obviously it's a massive buzzword. You've built it without even talking about personal branding, really. 18 million followers, like I said. I think one of your videos has accumulated more than 23 years of watch time. But you've also said that sometimes you feel like that audience, or you find the fame side of it a bit burdensome. What would be your take on that for people right now who probably need to get out there a bit more and overcome the confidence piece that you did mention, but just find it a bit too scary to put their face out there or to start something?
I mean, look, life is full of risks, right? So there's all sorts. I mean, it's the old line: if you don't go and try it, you'll regret later you didn't try it. It's the old don't worry about failure. It's all a story later, right? I think I didn't know what fame was. I would argue that it is glamorized. People think fame means you click your fingers and you get what you want. But in reality, and I think fame is a sacrifice. And so I like my type of fame because I feel like I'm on the right side of history, trying to help people. And I'm able to, we got a video coming out on our YouTube channel next week where, I was able to get someone's hero, Jax Jones,
Oh, wow.
well-known musician, to help a kid whose dream is to be the next Jax Jones. And I think it's because I have the clout. Will Smith, a couple of weeks ago, I said, Will Smith, would you give this kid a part in your next big movie? And he said yes. So
Wow.
I love that side of it. I love the fact that I can reach really influential, powerful people and give people who are pitching a doorbell in Twickenham access to that. To your point earlier, you've got Rory Sullivan, people I respect like Chris Doe and all these talented, Daniel Priestley entrepreneurs willing to give time to these people. And I think, and to me, that's really exciting and special about fame. But the other side is that it is a weird relationship that people have with you on social media. So I do get some really, really kind of crazy DMs from people where I'm like, oh my God, I wish I hadn't read it because they're in an awful situation. I don't know how to help and I get overloaded and overwhelmed. And I have a system for helping people and I want to try and stick to it because otherwise I go mad. Equally, on the other side, it's like people coming up to me in the street. I really like people and I really enjoy the conversations I have in the street with people. But sometimes, like recently, I was with my son and I hadn't really spent much time with him. And I'm literally just playing a game with him. And, 3 people come up and start talking. And now it's their shot, right? It's their moment. And they want to say hello. And it's my fault, right? I put it out there. But I find it really awkward and hard to kind of say, look, guys, thanks for coming over. I'm with my son right now. Is it okay if I just, I don't have time for your 1-hour pitch and my feedback? And do you mind? And I'm finding that hard because people will be like, oh, that's their first interaction with me, right? So they'll be like, oh, Simon Squibb guy's an arsehole, like and he's like, get lost. But they don't understand that either I need a wee, I need to get to the toilet, or I'm trying to be present with my son. And so that side of it is really hard. But the truth is, if I stop posting, it'll all be over probably. But then I won't have the impact that I can have right now. So it's a tricky one. One thing I'd say, if anyone's listening to this and thinking about fame, I would say make sure that the impact is the reason you want to be famous. I don't want to be. I wouldn't suggest anyone be famous for the sake of being famous. I think it's quite pointless, and you will regret it, because you will lose something more than you'll gain something. There's not that much privilege to fame that people think they have. Yes, you get invited to the Brits and you get invited to things, but it's not privacy. The ability to walk around free is a value you don't know you have until you lose it. And on the other side of it is like, I think fame is glamorized, and actually it's not glamorous. I have to go in the back door of places, and trust me, it's not nice. I have to hide.
Yeah.
And it's not a good way to live unless you've got a mission, and then it's worth it, right? So, like, if you think about actors, I wouldn't want to be any of them unless they're using that fame to do something good. Otherwise, it's really difficult. It makes your life really difficult.
Yeah, I think privacy is luxury, isn't it? And so, to your point there, if you're not making an impact, there's almost no point. But I must say, to be doing this for 6 years, and obviously your 35-year career before that, have this many followers, had this larger team, and there to be no negative comments about you as a person online is quite special. So I think you're doing a fantastic job.
You haven't dug deep enough, mate. They are there. They are definitely
But
there.
they're not backed up by anything, for sure.
No, they're not backed up by anything. And I just came off a call with my team, and I was talking about this because, I'm working with someone who 30 years ago I met. I have them part of my company. I think your reputation and, your B2B reputation, the way the community, forget consumer, forget B2C, the world at large sees you. You've got to build your relationships and your reputation, and do the right thing, and follow through if you say you're going to do something. My biggest achievement, apart from the fact I've got a beautiful 8-year-old son who is happy and lovely and sweet and kind, and I take full credit for that. I think the other thing I think I am pretty proud of is that I'm on a conference call today with someone I was working with 30 years ago. Like, that relationship, that trust, they're a good person and I've done the right thing my whole life. You will not find anyone that says I've swindled them, done anything bad to them. You will find people that don't like me because they think that whatever reason they don't like me. I'm too loud. I'm doing it for me. Whatever their reflection in the mirror is, I think I have tried my whole life to treat people with respect and do the right thing. Even I've lost lots of money doing the right thing, but I have worked very hard to try and make sure that I don't have a bad reputation, because I value that.
Jealousy is a cruel thing, isn't it? Simon, I don't want you to run over today because I know you've got a busy day, but can I ask one final question, which would be this. If someone's listening right now and has a dream but feels paralyzed by fear, what's the one thing you'd tell them or say to them?
Okay, imagine you're 91 years old and you're sitting in your rocking chair and you're remembering when you were 29 and you had that idea and you didn't do it. You will have regret, and the thing is, you won't be able to go back. Whereas if you do that thing and you experience it and it works or it doesn't work, at 91 years old, you'll be sitting there with a smile because you tried. You did it. You don't have regret. I have built so many businesses that failed. I opened up a coffee shop in Hong Kong. I loved it. I kept it alive for 5 years, but ultimately it failed. But I ticked the box. I have a story that helps my book become a bestseller. It doesn't reward you in the moment, failure. It rewards you later. And I think that, you don't want to live with regret. You cannot go back and do it. Do it when you can do it. And that's probably the mantra I live by, which is why I'm going to do all sorts of crazy things in the next 2 years, because I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to say I didn't try to help millions of people who are stuck, sitting around waiting for a job. If I don't fix that problem and sit in my rocking chair saying I could have tried and I didn't, no, I'm not telling you to do something I'm not already doing myself.
I love it. I love it. Based on some of the stuff that you've said over the last few years, every Friday, if this is beneficial to anyone, every Friday I will write an email to myself as if I was an 80-year-old man. And then on a Monday, I'll reply to it as if I was 80. So it's a very similar thing to what you're doing, I think. I'm trying to answer it as if I was 80. Like, there's nothing's gone wrong. Confidence is not a thing. You're 80. Who cares? You say what you want. It's the whole mantra of just cracking on with things, isn't it? Simon,
Totally.
thank you so much for your time. We'll put all the links down below. Everyone's going to already know where you are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. And we'll put the Help Bank link below so everyone can find you. But thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely awesome.
Of course, keep doing what you're doing. Well done. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to take a second to speak about our sponsor, Pith and Stem, who we are thrilled to have on this journey with us. As someone who is always looking for ways to improve my healthy hustle, Pith and Stem's drop-top desk stood out to me as the best full work-from-home solution on the market. The world of work from home is changing, and a laptop or screen perched on your lap or dining room table isn't enough anymore. It's imperative that we have a solution at home that matches our productivity station that we can have in our office. But of course, homes weren't made to be worked in, and not all of us want a dedicated study. That's why I'm so happy that Pith and Stem created this perfect solution. They designed this desk with both the needs of the professional and their home in mind. It's perfect because it allows me to have a full productivity station that suits my needs and helps me get the most out of every minute that I spend at it, not only so I work comfortably, but that I actually enjoy it. And the best thing about Drop-Top, I can close and lock it at the end of the day to keep work and home separate. And it looks awesome on the wall. You can get your Drop-Top desk anywhere in the world from pithandstem.com or just Google Drop-Top and you'll find it pretty quickly.